Welcome back. Well, it's shocking that what I'm about to tell you hasn't had more media coverage, because there was chaos at the University of Sydney last week when vile pro-Palestinian protesters disrupted an event honouring the survivors of October 7 and even forced them into lockdown. The event was called Survive to Tell, and there were first-hand accounts of people who did survive the massacre. And they weren't all Jewish Israelis, they were Muslims and Christian Israelis as well. But the protesters wanted it cancelled, and the attendees were locked in the building after it finished, apparently for their own safety, with radicals screaming at them. Have a look.
You animal! You animal!
Because we are going to be here to make you feel uncomfortable. You should not be here. We're going to find out who you are. You're disgusting. You're baby killers.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Come on. Come on, Granddad.
Your face.
Come on, Granddad.
Come on.
You got it, Granddad?
Bring it all.
Do you want to bring the screen up, Granddad? You coward. Yeah, you coward.
It was so horrific looking at all of the footage. I can't even tell you how upsetting it was looking at the full extent of that footage. They were here to talk about surviving October 7, and this is how they were treated at the University of Sydney. Well, joining me now is Israel's United Nations spokesman, Jonathan Harounoff. Jonathan, thank you very much for your time. What's your reaction to images like that at one of Australia's oldest and most prestigious universities?
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Shari. It's truly disheartening and disturbing to see these scenes. What's most shocking to me is not what Hamas perpetrated on October the 7th. Hamas's genocidal intent is very clear. They're very explicit about their hatred for Jews, for Israeli people, for anyone who supports the idea of a Jewish state. What was most disturbing to many people across the world was what happened on October the 8th, October the 9th, October the 10th, and since then, 500 and odd days since. And I think what we've seen at the University of Sydney is the latest manifestation of this inexplicable hatred towards anyone who is coming from, anyone who's Jewish, anyone comes from the state of Israel, even someone, an innocent person who survived the most horrific atrocity just for being Jewish.
Or just for being Israeli.
Just for being Israeli, just for being a Jewish, just for being Muslim, just for belonging to a certain country, and that's truly disturbing.
No, it is indeed. It's just shocking. Now, we saw the news over the past few days that Hamas has reportedly revised down their death toll. So this is removing the names of thousands of Palestinians it had claimed were killed. The researchers say that at least 1,000 children are no longer on the list, and that 72% of those killed were combatant-aged men. Now, Jonathan, this has been widely covered in the international media, not on the ABC, as far as I can tell. Why this reluctance by left-leaning media outlets to cover this story?
As a trained journalist, it's very disturbing to see that many of the outlets across the spectrum are not covering this. And when they do cover it, they sometimes fail to mention who is running the health ministry, the fact that it is a Hamas-run health ministry. Look, I think this boils down to the fact that Hamas obviously doesn't care about Israelis, but it also doesn't care about its own people, which is why it's so blasé about throwing around different numbers and figures that are detached from reality. And we saw the latest evidence of the people of Gaza not rising up against Hamas, because Hamas does not care about its own people. And we saw some brave instances of anti-Hamas riots, which were very violently stamped down, but that just shows to you how much the government cares so little about its own people.
No, exactly. I mean, even Palestinians being executed by Hamas simply for wanting a better future. Now, we're seeing evidence that Iran was complicit in October 7. Israel has said that there is new documentation. What can you tell us about this?
I don't think it's breaking news that the Islamic Republic of Iran's tentacles, fingerprints, signature has been all over the atrocities of October the 7th, but they go way back before that. The latest piece of public evidence that's been revealed shows that June 2021, Hamas leaders Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Deif wrote to the IRGC commanders asking for something in the sum of $500 million in order to carry out future attacks against Israel. And those attacks took place on October the 7th. The Islamic Republic has, for a very long time, denied any connection, and we're slowly starting to see the extent and the scale of the Islamic Republic of Iran's involvement.
And piece together the money trail, of course.
Yes.
Now, before you go, I want to ask you, Australia has been hostile to Israel under our current government at the United Nations, voting against Israel in multiple occasions over the past few years. How disappointing is this to you? We're in an election campaign. How much of a concern is this to you, this break in bipartisan support?
What we try and do at the Israeli mission to the UN, and what Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, tries to do, is present the truth. And it's very disappointing to see countries that don't side with truth, don't side with Eli Sharabi when he's speaking at the Security Council, don't side with Noah Argamani, and they side with the Palestinian Authority and representatives of a regime that really doesn't care about its own people, let alone Jewish or Israeli people. So it's extremely disappointing.
Yeah. It is indeed. All right, to us as well. Jonathan Harounoff, really appreciate your time. Great to see you here in Australia as well, not just on the clips on the television. Thank you.